Hey guys, good morning. It's Mike here. Wanted to talk to you today about a question, really important question that every man, I think, should be asking himself regularly. And that question is, where is your soul alive? Like really alive? And where is your soul starving for life? You probably know this, but most men, like Henry David Thoreau said, live lives of quiet desperation, right? Their souls are not alive. And we as men, if we're not careful, we're going to all find ourselves in places where we're existing, maybe even we're extremely productive, maybe even by all the metrics we have on our screen, knocking it out of the park, but our souls are dead on arrival. It's a strange thing, but it happens for a lot of men. And it comes about because of this interesting quality about the way we're designed as men. That we have this inner compass, you might say, or this sort of inner fire. And if we don't pay attention to it, if we don't tend it, it will go out. But nobody on the outside of our lives may ever notice it. Howard Thurman said this amazing quote, which kind of encapsulates this. He says, "There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have, and if you cannot hear it, you will spend all of your life, you will spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls." And the philosopher Epictetus also said, "Most of us would be seized with fear if our bodies went numb and would do everything possible to avoid it. Yet we take no interest at all in the numbing of our souls." Within the BraveHeart Men community, we operate on these 4 pillars of authentic manhood, authentic masculinity, authentic identity as men. And one of those pillars is values, what we call values. And we use the term differently than probably anyone else uses the term. I think when most people, even most men, talk about values, they're talking about principles or things that are like what's right or wrong. What is good, what is the right thing to do versus the wrong thing to do, and that's perfectly fine. That's not a bad use of the word values, but we use the term to describe this essential quality of aliveness, and we think of it more like what are the foundational ways of moving through the world, of operating through the world, of engaging life that are invigorating and stoking to your soul as a man. In fact, this is our definition of value. A value is any context, practice, or way of engaging with life that fills you up, gets your blood going, and nourishes your soul. Essentially, a value is the thing that makes you come alive. So values in that sense are not about what is right or wrong. They're about what makes you come alive versus what causes you to die. And I want to talk to you today, or encourage you today, to begin to think about what your values are. Because, if you haven't already, because if you don't know what they are, you'll end up putting yourself in positions where other men or other people are deciding your values for you. And you will end up in contexts and engaging in practices that are soul numbing for you, that are destructive to your heart, to your true self. So I have a value. I'll give you an example. I have a value called into the wild, and I experience it like this. Anytime I'm in a place I've never been before, this is my first time to ever walk through these woods. On a trail I've never been on. In this case, there is no trail. I'm actually just going across a wooded area and no idea actually where it leads. That's surrounded by beauty, by adventure, and a little bit of danger. Something inside me lights up. Something inside my heart of hearts, inside the core of who I am as a man, just activates. It's almost like if I were an eagle, and you tossed me into a thermal, right? A big thermal that was rising in the air, and that would be like my wings would just pop out at that moment, and and something in me would activate, and I would start just rising with the thermal, and it would feel right and true and pure and good, and it would be, this is what I am made for. That's how it feels when I go into the wild. And so I have a value called into the wild. And that's an example of what I mean when I say value. It's the context or practice or way of engaging life where something in you clicks and comes alive, where you step into something that activates an essential aspect of your truest self, of your identity as a man. Now, the thing about values that makes them particularly powerful is that they're not contextually bound. And what I mean by that is, even though I just said my value is called into the wild, and I'm standing in the woods as I say it, the value is not going into wild places. The value is going into any context where I'm unfamiliar with it, where it's a new trail, metaphorically speaking, where there's an element of danger and beauty and adventure. So an example of that is I'm a coach, right? So I work with people, helping them become who they're meant to be. And so when I meet with somebody, I am stepping into the landscape of their soul. It's always a path I've never been on. It's always full of beauty, intimacy, and adventure, and a little bit of danger. And going down that path with them is always activating this value of mine called into the wild. So there's something in me that's just like that eagle on the thermal. It just activates and my wings go out and I go, yes, this is how I'm made. This is what I'm made for. And it begins to speak to my identity as a man. That's what values are for. Once you know them, they begin to tell you who you are, how you're made, and what you're for. And that's why it's so important to know them. So I have now, maybe 15 values that I've named. But for most of us guys, there's only about 5, sometimes there's 8, that are what I would call essential values, like they have to be present in your life for you to thrive, for you to be able to be who you're meant to be. And if they're not present, you begin to die. You begin to shrivel up, you die on the vine. And most men are, as you can probably guess, living lives where they are dying. They're already dead. And they get up every day and they do their regular routine and they're productive at work and they're productive at home. and then they wonder why they're not happy. They wonder why they feel so empty inside. This is why, because they have not done the deep work of discovering the essential way that they're wired to be in the world. They have looked to external things to tell them what their values should be, and then they've gone off and tried to embody those things, and those things have proven to be lacking, you know? And so then they go to false values, like they turn to porn, or they turn to gambling, or they turn to illicit affairs, or whatever it is they turn to. Maybe they turn to conspiracy theories, or digging into whatever it is, whatever's titillating or tantalizing, that's just a distraction that doesn't actually feed their soul, it feeds their ego. It distracts them from the actual thing that their soul is craving. And it becomes like empty calories, right? And that further kills their soul. So my challenge for you is to begin to pay attention, to pay exquisite attention to what makes you come alive and what sucks the life out of you. And so you don't have to change anything right away. Just start paying attention when you feel more alive and when you feel less alive. When you feel yourself activate, like that eagle popping his wings out when the thermal comes, and when you feel like you're slogging through a swamp and you just feel lethargic and you don't quite know why. But get curious. What is missing? Ask yourself, when you're slogging through the swamp and you're not sure why, ask yourself, what is missing right now? What is present right now that is causing me to feel this way? Or what is missing that is causing me to feel this way? And when you feel a little buoyed up, when you feel alive, ask yourself, what is present that is allowing me to feel fully alive or more alive? What is happening that is allowing that to happen? And begin to think about, what is the value that's here? Be careful not to name the value as some kind of a should, right? It's not family, or it's not an activity, and it's not an entity in your life. It's the thing that's happening in the midst of that, right? So if you're with your kids and you think, oh, it's my family, that's what makes me feel fully alive, go deeper than that. If it's when you're with your kids, what is happening when you're with your kids that is causing you to be alive? It's some kind of exchange that's occurring. What is that exchange? That's the thing that's transferable to other contexts, you see. So your values form the foundation for discovering who you really are, how you're made, who you're meant to be. And if you don't know them, you will, as Howard Thurman says, spend your entire life living on the end of strings that somebody else pulls. So you need to discover those things. In BraveHeart, through the BraveHeart Intensive, that's what we spend our time doing, is discovering what each man's values are. And I recommend, if you haven't been through it yet, that you look into going through a BraveHeart with us. You can also reach out to us for individual coaching. We'll walk you through that. But you can also just do it on your own. Just think about, get curious about it, and begin to name those values, whatever they are. The names can be as individual as you are. They don't have to make sense to anybody else. All right, that's our word. It's my word to you for the week. What are the values that make you come alive? Hope you have a great week, guys. And until next time.